Will the House come to order? Mr. Clerk?
Aloha and good afternoon. Today's invocation will be delivered by Representative Sonny Ganadin. Will the members who wish to participate please rise?
Please remain seated. How's everybody doing today? We just started your hearings. Before I begin, I'd like to thank the staff that makes us look so good. The longer you work here, the more you really appreciate these folks. Rod and Tamalani, the support staff at the Legislative Reference Bureau, the majority and the minority staff offices that stayed late, worked over weekends to draft excellent prospective legislation that we're going to be hearing over the next few months. We're in sort of the meat grinder part of the session, so I just gave a brief, informal survey to my staff as to what I should be talking about this year. One, I was going to say young people. I'm going to talk about young people and imploring us to work with them in direct ways. You're going to hear about that more. Number two, that today is Groundhog Day, which is my favorite movie as a kid. And I was going to discuss how we have to be kind to each other, not because it's in our nature, but because we're stuck with each other in this odd time loop, and it's the only way out of this place. Number three, I was going to feed the last 127 invocations that I've heard into an artificial intelligence chatbot and have the algorithm write me the one speech to rule them all. But I went with four. A poem about the ocean at the suggestion of our new Vice Speaker. Sea Call by Hone Tufare, New Zealand's late poet laureate, union welder, and peace activist, 1953. Let the radio pip and shudder at each dawn's news. Let the weatherman hint a gaunt meaning to the chill and ache of bone. But when the new moon's bowl is storing rain, the pool of time and sea will cry to me again. And I shall stuff my longing in an empty pack and hasten to the secret shore where the land's curve lies, clad in vermilion and the green wind tugging gravely. There let the waves lave, pleasuring the body's senses, and the sun's feet shall twinkle and flex to the sea egg's needling, and the paula's stout kiss shall drain a rock's heart to the sandbar's booming.
Thank you, Representative Ganadin. Item 1, roll call. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Ayu, Mr. Alcos, Ms. Amato,
Excuse.
Ms. Bellotti, Mr. Chun, Ms. Cochran, Mr. Ganadin, Mr. Garcia, Mr. Garrett, Mr. Gates, Mr. Hashem, Mr. Hashimoto, Mr. Holt, Ms. Hussey Burdick, Ms. Ichiyama, Ms. Kahaloa, Ms. Capella, Mr. Kila, Ms. Kitagawa, Mr. Kobayashi, Mr. Kong,
Excuse.
Ms. Lamosau, Ms. Lowen, Ms. Martin, Ms. Martinez, Mr. Matayoshi, Ms. Matsumoto, Mr. Mizuno, Ms. Morikawa, Ms. Nakamura, Mr. Nakashima,
Excuse.
Mr. Nishimoto, Mr. Onishi, Ms. Peruso, Mr. Pirik, Ms. Poepoe, Mr. Quinlan,
Excuse.
Mr. Saiki, Mr. Sayama, Ms. Souza, Mr. Takayama, Ms. Takenouchi, Mr. Tam, Mr. Tarnas, Mr. Todd, Mr. Ward, Mr. Woodson, Mr. Yamashita, Mr. Speaker.
Present.
Mr. Speaker, 45 members are present, 4 are excused.
Thank you. Item 2, reading of the journal. Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, may this matter be deferred.
So ordered. Item 3, Mr. Clerk, are there any messages from the governor?
Mr. Speaker, there are none.
Item 4, Mr. Clerk, are there any Senate communications?
Mr. Speaker, there are none.
Members' introductions. Are there any introductions? Item 5, unfinished business. Representative Nakamura.
Mr. Speaker, I move to adopt House Resolutions number 9 and 10.
Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Any discussion on HR 9? Representative Ganadin.
My thanks to the Speaker for introducing House Resolution number 9, which reestablishes the House Special Committee on Red Hill. We heard many issues regarding Red Hill over the last year. There were several concerns that came up over the summer and during the interim. Despite notions that the federal government and the county have already come to agreements about this, I think the state still certainly has a role to play, and this House has a role to play because of our direct involvement with our communities. We're supposed to be the closest to them and hearing directly from them. As the representative of many people who were displaced in 2021, our office hears some pretty horrendous stories about people who've had to move away, health issues, and we know that these are going to be coming up. I think that for the duration of my career here in this House, I'm going to be hearing about Red Hill. Again, my appreciation to the Speaker and the House for continuing this important work.
Thank you. And Rep. Ganadin doesn't support, correct? Thank you. Any other discussion? Moving on to House Resolution 10. Members will do a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion is carried. Item 7, introductions of resolution. Mr. Clerk, are there any resolutions? Oh, sorry, forgive me. Item 6, reports of standing committees. Representative Nakamura.
Mr. Speaker, I move to adopt Standing Committee Reports number 1 through 4 as listed on page 2, and that the accompanying House bills as amended pass second reading and be referred to their designated committees.
Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Any discussion on STANCOM report number 1? Number 2, Representative Capella.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In strong support. Strengthening access to community college is essential to delivering the promise of higher education to all Hawaii residents. Too often, the cost of college tuition is unattainable to working families, many of whom are experiencing chronic financial hardship because of our island's extreme and ever-increasing cost of living. According to the University of Hawaii's Institutional Research Analysis and Planning Office, UH reported that roughly 12,500 classified students with Hawaii residency were enrolled in community college. Approximately 5,000 were registered as full-time students and 7,500 were registered as part-time students. UH also reported that approximately 42% of community college students received financial aid to cover the cost of their tuition in the most recent years, for which data is available, and that part-time residential community college students enroll in an average of 6 credits per semester. When these data points are considered, the cost of making community college tuition free for Hawaii residents can be estimated at less than $20 million, even after accounting for first-year enrollment increases which were experienced by other states. In fact, the actual cost is likely to be even lower since many students received financial assistance from other scholarship programs. Many states have implemented programs to make community college free for all students, or most students, including California, Delaware, Nevada, New York, Oregon, Rhode Island, Tennessee, Virginia, and Washington. We should join this movement and ensure that the dream of higher education is affordable and attainable for all working families and their keiki. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Representative Garcia.
No vote, and the permission to enter comments into the journal.
So ordered.
And also at the appropriate time, if we can go back to STANCOM report number 1.
Sounds good.
No vote as well. Thank you.
Representative Perrick.
Aloha. Mine is a no with reservations.
So ordered.
Yes with reservations.
So ordered.
The perspective being, in going door to door, my constituents were concerned about higher taxes, and so the desire is to decrease taxes in the state of Hawaii.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Recess.
Mr. Speaker, recess, please.
call him back from recess. Representative Pierick, your comment was for SRR SANCOM Report 2 or 1?
Thank you, Speaker. It stands for both.
For both? Okay. Chief Clerk, mark reservations for SANCOM Report 1 and 2. Thank you. Any further discussion on SANCOM Report 2? Moving on, SANCOM Report 3. Representative Garcia.
With reservations and permissions to enter comments into the journal.
Thank you.
Mr. Speaker,
Representative Takayama.
please note my reservations.
So ordered.
Speaker,
Representative Ward.
I rise in opposition with a brief comment, please.
Go ahead.
I think the last poll, the poll that was taken, that 65 or 70% of us are UH graduates. So we've got skin in the game on this one, Mr. Speaker, but for some of us who have been here that voted for autonomy for the University of Hawaii, this bill is a micromanaging bill. Why do we have to tell them how to do what they're doing when in fact we've given them autonomy? And I think this is an overreach. It's like a lack of trust with the officers of the building, and I think we should just leave it the way it is and not put our nose into their business, which we officially, technically, and legally gave them an autonomy. The only thing is we've never implemented it. So for those reasons, a no vote, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Kobayashi.
With reservations.
So ordered. Representative Persuso.
Mr. Speaker, we are still responsible for matters of statewide concern, and the division of power and preventing the over-centralization of power at the University of Hawaii is still our responsibility. So for these reasons, I support this measure.
Any further discussion? Moving on to SANCOM Report 4. Representative Tam.
Please note my reservation.
So ordered. Representative Garcia.
Same request.
Representative Takayama.
Reservations.
So ordered. Representative Onishi.
Same request, Speaker.
So ordered. Representative Kobayashi.
WR.
So ordered. Representative Matsumoto.
With reservations, please.
So ordered. Representative Peruso.
Mr. Speaker, I will note that this measure is a result of conversations that have to do with making our structures in alignment. So currently, our Department of Education has no such body.
Representative Peruso in support? Or?
I am in support.
Thank you. Go on.
So has no such body as the Candidate Advisory Council to provide recommendations to the governor for his appointments to the Board of Education. And this measure would simply bring the Board of Regents into that same structural process alignment. Moreover, this also brings us into alignment with what happens at other public universities across the country. Mahalo.
Thank you. Representative Alcos?
With reservations.
So ordered. Any Representative Ward?
Speaker, no vote for the same micromanaging reasons as the previous bill. Thank
So
you.
ordered. Any further discussions? Members will be calling a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion is carried. Item 7, introduction of resolutions. Mr. Clerk, are there any resolutions for action?
Mr. Speaker, there are no resolutions for action. May all others be referred to print.
So ordered. Members, are there any announcements? Motion to adjourn. Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, I move that this House stand adjourned until 12 o'clock noon tomorrow.
Representative Garcia.
Mr. Speaker, second the motion.
All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The motion is carried. The House stands adjourned until 12 noon tomorrow.